I'm a maverick. What did you want me to do?
I could do anything at any moment. You'll never know. You'll never see it coming. Guess what, Martin?
Yeah.
I'm bringing the heat today.
Are we bringing the heat?
Bringing
What kind
the
of
heat today. Back to the hot
get?
cinnamon rooibos. Has it been 3 minutes?
Why would I know that?
Because it's your job
I didn't
to,
count.
number one, read my mind when I come up with new responsibilities for you, and number two, to count in your head how long the tea's been steeping.
I saw you pour it, but here's what I figured. I thought to myself, I wonder if he actually pays attention to how long that's been in, or if we just kind of pour it out into the glasses when we're filming. That's what it kind of seemed like, so I just didn't bother.
It depends on the tea. Give me more credit than you're giving me right now.
No.
Because
I'm a maverick.
Come on.
I do what I want. I don't have to give you credit.
You're not going to be building a whole lot of liking here, Martin.
I don't care.
If you want to influence my decisions, I don't know, maybe you should flatter my tea steeping abilities. That's all I'm trying to say.
No.
It's a small penance, okay? But I do want you to give me more credit because this is rooibos, which, as you have told me many times, is not even tea.
It is not.
So it doesn't actually matter how long this steeps that much. I've left this
not as much. Probably,
I never take this out of the pot, and also it's so thin that like a good portion of it goes through the filter and just is in the water.
Fair.
Which means we're drinking it.
That's fine.
Yeah, it's plants.
I
It's
like
natural.
plant matter.
All plants are totally safe to eat. I was kidding about that. Don't take that to heart.
Eat every plant.
There are some unsafe plants.
I'm actually going to make some tea out of the lawn.
Actually,
High quality tea.
Speaking of unsafe plants, so I told you about this, but I'm just going to say, I'm going to tell the story again. We put away our Christmas tree.
Oh, yeah.
In January this year. I think last year, well, no, last year we were forced to get rid of it at a good time because it was a real tree. And if you have a real tree in your apartment for too long, then it's going to burst into flames. On January 18th, actually, to the day, the tree is guaranteed to burst into flames and burn your apartment down.
Fair.
So you have to get rid of it before then.
Yeah.
But this year we bought a fake tree because we assumed that real trees weren't allowed. I think we may have assumed wrong because I saw some real tree trimmings in the building.
I assume they're inconvenient.
They're inconvenient. And the fake tree,
sticky,
while being more expensive than the real tree, will last us for many years. And honestly, I think it looks great.
Yeah.
So we got that, but we took it down. And I put the chair that used to be here in the studio over in that corner. And then I was like, it's missing something. It's kind of off kilter. There's like a table, there's a lamp, there's the chair. What else should go there? And I got it in my head that I should get a plant. So I went to the plant store, which is a pretty cool plant store. And I just bought the first thing that caught my eye, basically. It was like this cool looking tree with like a braided stem, or not, like a braided trunk. And I brought it back and I placed it there in the pot that I bought. And I had all this effort that I'd gone to and I was so proud of it. And I sat there and the cat jumped up. And I realized, oh no, I didn't check to see if this was poisonous to cats. And it was. Yay.
Good work.
Yeah. So I had to go back. Luckily, the nice people at the plant store took my plant back and gave me a money tree, which does indeed grow money.
Fair.
So actually, what we don't need to do work.
Money's
anymore.
on paper. All trees grow money.
Yeah.
Except for coins.
Isn't it like linen paper though?
I don't care.
Is that from a tree or is that from like a shrub?
I'm not trying to be specific. Do you think this is about real knowledge? This is about asserting things that sound right and then going with it.
You told me that you know about plants.
I just made up that I know about
plants. I want to know
plants.
if money actually does come from trees.
I don't know about money.
Linen comes from somewhere else.
I don't know about money.
The answer.
All my money is coins, you know?
Like
I ain't seen a
Doge
paper
coins?
bill in 10 years.
Like Doge coins?
It's something like
light
that.
coins?
It's all cryptocurrency
ETH
because
coins?
why not?
Yeah.
I like to live a volatile life.
And you memorize the keys.
Yeah.
You don't have them written down anywhere. You don't have them stored anywhere. I memorize it every day.
It's a great idea.
Basically, I wake up and I have to recite it, and like my entire life is dependent on me remembering this 98 character string.
Yeah.
That's living on the edge right there.
Something like that.
I've started to feel like my life is a constant sequence of strategic placements of water. Because
what is strategic? I don't understand. Where are they strategically placed?
It's so dry here in Denver that I had to buy a humidifier, which I know you also have.
I have a little tiny one. It barely does anything.
Well, you still have to fill it, right? It's not like it fills itself.
A little bit.
Anywho, so I had the humidifier, I got the plant, and then I got one of those cool air plants they had at that tea shop that sadly closed.
Yeah.
So my night routine has now come down to like a routine of water the plants, fill the humidifier, fill my water bottle for the next day, fill the tea kettle, then use the tea kettle to fill the cat's water bottle or water bowl, and then go fill my guitar humidifier. There's just water. It has to go everywhere.
You got a lot more complications than I got.
But not like everywhere, because I could just throw buckets of water on the living room. That would not achieve the same effect. It would humidify the floor, probably in a bad way, especially since I don't have the cool floor you have.
Yeah, you'll get it, though, after you ruin your floor like mine was.
I will get it.
It'll take a while.
I get the feeling that if I do this, they're going to charge me for it.
I'm sure it doesn't cost that much. It's just a brand new floor.
It is just a brand new floor. How much could it cost? It's just a floor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anywho, we're coming back to our Weapons of Influence series. A cool title. And what are we on? Number 4? Fourth? I think it's the 4th one.
I don't remember.
I'm pretty sure it's the 4th one because I put together the skeleton of the blog post for it this morning.
Nice.
Because I wanted to get the sponsor text in there and everything before I go out and do whatever else I'm going to do today. Buy some stuff for a stew. And yes, it is number 4. So far we've gone through, what was it, social proof. We've gone through, reciprocation and commitment and consistency.
Yeah.
Those are the first 3. Number 4 is liking. And I think this may have been my favorite chapter so far.
Yeah?
Yeah. I don't know why. I just liked it.
I see what you did there.
I really did like it, though, because it puts some science behind some things that I have wondered about for a really long time.
Oh, yeah?
Such as, I think everyone wonders this, like when you're watching a commercial for like a car or Pepto-Bismol or I don't know, tax preparation, and then there's just a bunch of really attractive people like having fun, and they're not even really using the product sometimes. They're just kind of around it. And this is something I've always wondered about, but my girlfriend is always the one who voices it because she'll be like, what does a car have to do with all these people at this party right now? And as we're going to get into in more depth later in the episode, basically it all comes down to association with people that we like.
Yeah.
So they don't even necessarily need to use the product. They just need to make this perception that a car or whatever product it is, a Ninja Turtle back there, is associated with people that you like. And they could be people you like because they're attractive or because they're like you or because they have some sort of association with you, whatever it may be. Just building that association makes people want the product more.
Yeah, those commercials are still dumb now.
They are, well...
No, obviously they work.
Define dumb.
I think they're dumb, and they don't work on me.
Oh, okay.
But, obviously, patterns like that only emerge because they're profitable. Every time there's some stupid marketing gimmick that you're like, what's that doing? Well, it's working. Otherwise, it wouldn't be there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. That actually brings up a question. When is the last time you saw a commercial?
I see ads on the internet sometimes.
But I mean like an honest-to-goodness commercial.
I don't watch TV.
Yeah. Like, my mom will sometimes ask, hey, have you seen this commercial where this happened?
Wait, no.
And
no, we have the Hulu without commercials.
Exactly.
Therefore,
we have the Hulu with no commercials.
The commercials are stupid.
Which is great. I'm so glad they finally came out with a Hulu with no commercials. We have Netflix. I have YouTube Red. And we don't have cable. So I think the only time I see an honest-to-goodness commercial is if we're maybe at the movies and we see a trailer or like a Coke commercial before the movie, or if we're walking downtown and we happen to see one playing on like one of those video billboards.
Yeah, I think I've seen one from like, I have a distinct memory maybe from yesterday, but who knows because my brain is a giant mess of fog and confusion. But like when I'm in like either a mechanic place and they got the TV on. Usually I'm somewhere else waiting and there's just a TV and I'm like, oh, this is really dumb.
Well, I learned a new hack.
Yeah?
Yep. You bring your Switch to the mechanic.
I don't want to do that. It'll get dirty. Can't do it.
I'm
protective of my electronics. They stay at home.
Do you think that you're out there in the bay like helping the mechanic change the oil?
I think that my Switch does not leave my home.
Really? You don't use the portable thing at all?
Portable systems are terrible for my posture and make me feel bad. I got the Switch specifically because I can hook it into my TV. I don't care about the portable part.
I mean, it is the greatest console of all time, and I don't fault you for not using that part.
It works for everyone. You know, that's really the beauty of it.
Yeah. It was pretty nice last night, even like without needing to take it out of the house. The portable aspect came in handy last night because Anna was playing Hyper Light Drifter.
Oh, yeah.
And I wanted to play there's a game called The End Is Nigh by the same guy who made Meat Boy.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm playing that. And it's great because I could just sit there and
I'm fine with it when you like detach it and you can stand it up by itself because then I can put it at the right height for my head and like have my neck straight and everything. But I just started Pokemon Ultra Sun. And like I'm playing it because I will sacrifice my health a little bit to play through it. But like I really don't like playing portable systems anymore. They're bad for my posture.
Can you get a controller for the DS?
I don't know.
I bet you can.
I'm not aware of that.
I don't know. I bet
anytime I've looked for stuff and I'm not going to like hack into it.
I've seen the grips at least.
Well, yeah, but my thing is that my hands have to be way up here by my eyes. I want my neck and my arms to be in reasonable positions.
That makes sense.
And it's hard to accomplish when the screen is connected to the keyboard.
Yeah, it makes sense. Well, when the next Pokemon comes out for the Switch, then all your problems will be solved.
Yes, it will. Hopefully. It'll be beautiful.
And I have high hopes that it's going to be great and amazing. All right. So what are some of the standouts from this chapter? Or I guess this was meant to be your series in the first place. So break down liking here.
Okay. Well, they open the chapter with an example of this car salesman dude who's like the best car salesman ever, was in the Guinness Book of World Records for it.
It's Joe something. I can't remember his last name.
Joe Girard.
That's right. Yep.
Looks like. And basically, he would always just say his secret was that he gave the customers somebody they like and a decent price. So he just gets them to like him, and that's basically the secret. And that's it. It's that simple. And ridiculously enough, he was sending out every single month a holiday postcard for various holidays, a different one every 12 months or every 1 month. 12 times a year. Yeah. I'm confusing myself because I can't think of every holiday that he possibly could have been sending them for.
That's what I was thinking.
But it said he specifically was sending one every month. So clearly there was some sort of Happy Flag Day, I guess. I don't have any idea.
Well, you could do New Year's Day.
Yeah.
For February, you could do Valentine's, I suppose.
For March, you could do Easter sometimes, maybe?
Sometimes.
Doesn't that move around? I don't really understand that one. Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
April is often Easter. Otherwise, I have no idea what's in April Fool's Day. And on April Fool's Day, it sends a card that says, I hate you.
Yeah, because the other text on that thing is just the holiday greeting, and then it just says, I like you. Yep. That's it.
Yeah, that's literally... No, I think what it said is the front said, I like you. And then in the card, he had written some personal message every time.
Oh, no, I actually don't think it said that.
Wait, did it not say that? No. I could have glossed over it. And I remember I don't know. My memory of it was that it said, I like you on the front, and then he wrote some message each time. But that doesn't make sense to me because it's 13,000 people.
Well, yeah, right here it says it had a holiday greeting and then just the words, I like you. That's it.
Oh, okay.
It literally didn't even try.
It, or was it automated?
I don't think it's specified.
The one cool thing that I took from that and from the chapter in general was that people often know when you're trying to get them to like you, and as long as you're good enough at it, they don't care.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of like the social proof thing. Like, people know
you're aware
that the
you're
laugh
being
track
manipulated.
Is real. Yeah.
It doesn't work.
But you're still kind of like, I still like this.
You know about the glitches in your brain, but your brain is still your brain. Mm-hmm. You didn't suddenly surpass human intelligence just because you're aware of dumb things you do.
Yeah. Well, I started to notice things after reading the chapter, and a lot of times I'm just like, I don't actually care that much.
Well, sometimes, like in the case that maybe he was giving you the best price.
Yeah.
In which case, go ahead and manipulate me, I guess. If it's a good deal, then it's a good deal. It's what I wanted. Yeah.
And I mean, that's the thing.
Everyone wins.
With a car, I'm going to do my research. I mean, we have a 2-part episode series on how to buy a car. So there's a whole like bunch of information about how to do that. But part of it actually does come down to, do I like the salesman? And I think that applies to a lot of different businesses, not just cars.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to go to the place that I like. And if there was somebody at GameStop that I really liked, I would probably go buy games there every time
Well, yeah.
And I
mean,
order
like,
them online.
I get my groceries at Whole Foods. Why? Not because I think Whole Foods is necessarily the best, but because I like it enough, and I completely despise the other grocery store near us because it is terrible. So
I actually started becoming familiar with some of the cashiers there.
Yeah, so it's like, well, now I'm used to it. Now I want to do it. If I pay a few extra dollars for the, overall, I don't really care.
Maybe there's better college success information out there, but people somehow like our show because we drink good tea. I don't know.
That's probably it.
Because we talk about Pokemon sometimes.
Maybe.
That's probably the real reason. That is the real reason. Though that got me thinking about the association principle. The one thing about this series is I realized, like, in talking about it, we educate our listeners to pick out the things that may be compliance tactics within our own business.
I didn't do them on purpose.
What, the compliance tactics?
If I'm doing anything, it's an accident.
Oh,
I
trust
promise.
me. I had beakers and test tubes, and I had like Bayesian statistical models, and I was like, all right, which amiibo would be the most effective amiibo to put on the shelf back there to get the most sales for the products that we don't sell?
Yeah. Good work.
I certainly didn't buy the Waluigi because you like Waluigi, and I certainly didn't buy the Wario because
he's
you
purple. He's
because
the
you
best.
hate Wario.
I'm more okay with him in that form. I'm okay with the classic Wario.
Wait, what form do you not like him in? The biker form?
Stupid biker fart joke form.
That's the best
Which is
form.
dumb because I like WarioWare a lot as a game, but mostly when it started becoming a move in Smash, I was just like, this is too much. This is too much.
You know I only like it because you hate it.
Yeah.
Just like our friend Clyde is only Clyde because he hated the name Clyde.
Oh, see, this is actually more association. You like this because you associate it with trolling me.
Yes,
there you go.
That's actually very true. I don't actually like
that Wario psychologically
guy.
Manipulated you.
Yeah, exactly. When I played Smash before, I discovered that you have an annoyance with Wario. I think I played like Diddy Kong and Samus pretty much all the time, and then
true.
I was like, wait a minute, I have to get good as Wario. Though I did learn that, unfortunately, in Mario Kart, Wario is pretty much the best character. So it kind of works out.
You're getting like the best combination. You're a cheater, but I'll still beat you anyway.
You don't beat me every time.
Not every time because you're a cheater with like the legitimate, statistically best.
Am I
setup.
a cheater or am I just?
You looked it up. You told me you looked it up. You cheated.
I did look it up.
That's cheating.
That's not cheating. That's just.
I could look up the best answers too. But I pick people because I like them only.
Okay, but let me put this on the table. I've won with Wario, but I've also won with Baby Mario.
I don't remember this.
Of course you don't remember it.
Well, actually, I legitimately don't.
Why would you log away your defeats?
I legitimately don't remember it, but I'm going to choose to disbelieve it, even though it's likely that I just don't remember it, because why would I?
I think you, me, and Ashley put like 80 hours into Mario Kart over however long
I don't remember
we were
all of
playing
them.
it. So there were a lot of matches, but there were definitely matches where I won, even when you were using your legit combo. But there were also many matches where we both decided to make something stupid, like a car made entirely out of bones, with Bones driving it, or the most metal car possible, or the most dragon car possible. So those could have also accounted. Anyway, I feel like we're talking a lot about association.
Yeah, anyway.
So let me break that down after you.
There are a bunch of lists here. There are a bunch of, how many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 different types of things that social psychologists found.
Mm-hmm.
And so we don't have to do them in order. So we can talk about association first. But overall, we've got association, the physical attractiveness, similarity, compliments, and contact, familiarity, and cooperation.
Yeah. And the contact one, I think, is really interesting because there was a lot of nuance to it.
Yeah.
When they were talking about
that one
desegregation.
Was so big that I was confused. I was like, did I go into the next chapter? Because this part's been going on for a while comparatively.
Yeah, it was really big.
It had a lot to it.
But I want to talk about association because I think we've been talking about this a lot. So the interesting thing is that there's a lot of social capital that gets tacked on to you simply being associated with something, either negative or positive.
Yeah.
And I found this really interesting because he talked about how like weathermen get blamed for the weather.
Oh, yeah, one of them was getting death threats.
I feel so bad.
And then the dude
for
in the bar was like, "You sent a tornado to mess up my house."
Yeah, I'm gonna punch you. And I love how the guy's just like, Yeah, and if you don't back off, I'm going to send another one.
Like, that doesn't even... It doesn't even make any sense, but people were still blaming him.
Yeah, and it was talking about how in the days of the Persian Empire, whoever was selected to be the messenger to go back to the royal court and talk about a military conquest or victory or defeat.
Yeah.
If it was a victory, the messenger would be given a feast and would be given as many women as he wanted and all this kind of stuff. And if it was a defeat, the messenger was executed.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that can't have been a fun thing to say.
Don't shoot the messenger thing came from, but it was weird. And the same thing is true of weathermen. Like, they're not controlling the weather. And I think that anybody who thinks about it for more than 3 seconds realizes that the weatherman, number one, doesn't control the weather. That would be a wizard.
Yeah.
Who you will find in a tower in a valley somewhere. Probably. And number two, they can't even predict it with 100% accuracy. And they say as much.
And a lot of what they say is just coming from other people telling them what to say.
Exactly.
Like machines and data. Like, it's not...
Yeah.
They didn't just... what is the weather tomorrow?
Well,
cloudy?
That's probably why they didn't get it right. They didn't charm enough snakes.
Okay, fair.
Also, we all know that if it rains more than we expect, it is in fact Obama's fault.
Oh no.
So,
he's still messing up the weather.
He's still messing he's still messing the weather up. But yeah, and it even happens with like the phone call example. They did this experiment where like 50% of the people had to go tell a classmate about a phone call, but they were told that it was a negative thing. And then the other 50% were told to go tell a classmate about a phone call they needed to take, but it was going to be positive news. And the ones who were delivering the news of a positive phone call would say, hey, there's a phone call waiting for you. It's great news. Yeah. Whereas the ones who were delivering one that was negative would just say, it's a phone call for you. And they would try to distance themselves.
Yeah, I would definitely be like, so this dude has informed me that you have a phone call? I don't know what it's about. He said it.
Yeah, exactly.
Go hate him.
So when it's good news or when there's a victory or something like that, people have a tendency to attach themselves to the thing. I don't know, because they feel like it's going to confer some prestige upon them. And then if it's bad, they will try to distance themselves. Even though logically, there's no real connection. There's no real fault either way.
And see, that part is really clear to me when they gave the sports example, which I've always known and been like, yep, we won. I'm sure you did a lot of work.
Yeah,
we won. You helped so much from your living room.
I did help a lot.
But it's because you're like, I want to associate myself with victory because then you'll like me more because that means I'm kind of victorious in some way.
Some way. Yeah.
Maybe. And then people won't use the pronoun we as much if their team lost. They'll be like, yeah, they lost. And one of their examples was a guy in their experiment saying, yeah, they cost us our opportunity to hit the championships. That there's a clear disconnect there. You're not involved in one of them, but somehow you're involved in the championship.
Yeah. That really opened my eyes to why like soccer riots happen.
Yeah.
Because before I could not fathom why people would get so worked up over a soccer game.
It's their identity. They think they lost.
Mm-hmm. And apparently their self-worth is tied up in that for some reason.
It's dangerous to tie your self-worth into basically anything.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And I'm not a huge sports fan.
There you go.
So I've never really identified with that particular example. But when I was reading that, I thought about Standard Broadcast, which is I don't know what to call them. They act as the advertising agency that gets us our sponsorships. So any of the sponsorships you hear on our podcast or my videos, they come from Standard. But Standard is also more than just an ad agency because they have a studio they're building and they have a lot of resources for creators that are part of the I don't know if it's like a team or whatever you call it, but they do a lot more than just get ads for their creators. So because of that, and because we have a Slack team where we're all talking all the time, I have this tendency to say we when I'm talking about Standard, even though like I'm not actually a part of Standard's business. I'm a client of Standard. But for some reason I want to say we. And I think it's because like Standard is doing really well. And I think it's also because we're in Slack and talking all the time. But because they're doing really well, there may be that unconscious tendency to say we.
Oh, yeah. I'm on a winning team.
Yeah.
That feels good.
And I'm wondering, like, I don't know, if Standard did something really stupid next week, or for some reason the business were to fail, would I say that we failed, or would I start naturally saying, Standard actually failed, or Standard did something stupid?
Yeah.
And I want to be able to say that I would be consistent, but when I honestly query my brain on this, I think I would start to say they if it were negative.
It wouldn't even be on purpose. It would just happen.
Yeah, it's like my natural response.
Like most of these are kind of an instinct.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, yeah. And the book talked about how they did this research on 7 different campuses and found that if their football team won on a Saturday, then the following Monday, way more people were wearing sports apparel for that team.
Yeah.
And if it was like a heavy victory, then even more people were wearing it.
Yeah.
And then if it was a loss, then far fewer people were wearing it. So that was pretty interesting.
Yeah. And it also mentioned that, like, if people had recently been successful themselves, they were less likely to...
Yeah.
Like, if your sports team lost, but you had just succeeded at something and you felt good about yourself, you were less likely to avoid saying, yeah, we lost this time, but it's not a big deal because I just got like a AAA+ on that test. Like, you don't care as much when you have your own accomplishments or you're happy with your life at that moment. You don't need to associate as much.
So, like, often an association is just basically a way to
it's bolstering
your own
something.
self-worth.
Yeah, when you feel,
if you feel lacking,
you don't have to even feel bad necessarily.
Yeah.
But if you feel particularly good, you won't need as much association to bring your self-worth up.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And I want to talk about how, like, businesses do this. And so literally what I did this morning, because it's tough for me to find time to read and I like to move a lot, I ended up just buying the book on Audible.
Okay.
I've done this many times and I just finished the chapter on Audible. But literally as I was listening to the bit on association, I was in the grocery store buying that squeeze bottle I showed you earlier. And look at the receipt. Do you
Broncos.
notice anything in... Yeah. The grocery store.
King Soopers, Broncos. Did you know that King Soopers actually, all their employees play for the Broncos?
All of them do, yeah.
That's how come that's on there.
Yeah, for people listening to this, and actually I don't think anyone watching can even see the receipt because we're far from the camera. At the top of the receipt, there is the logo of our grocery store, which is called King Soopers. And then right next to it, same size, is the Broncos logo.
Yeah, same size.
Hometown grocer, hometown team, right at the top. So they're clearly... Number one, that hometown grocer line is saying, we're your hometown grocer. So it's an association based on residence.
Now, are they... There are more outside of here, right? Aren't there more? Is it from here? Is it like...
King Soopers is Colorado.
From here? Okay.
Now, I don't know if
because it's owned by, like...
Kroger owns
the bigger
them.
one that's everywhere, right?
So, yes. On that level... King Soopers is anything but your hometown grocer because they are owned by Kroger, and Kroger's like the 11th biggest company in the U.S. or something like that, and they own like most big grocery chains that you see. Like, grocery chains are usually regional, but Kroger owns a good portion of them. Yeah. Not Hy-Vee though.
That's because Hy-Vee's actually better.
Hy-Vee's pretty great. I will give you that. I don't know if they own Wegmans either, but I think they own Safeway. They definitely own King Soopers, and then there's lots of Kroger stores as well. So they're definitely not home team, but they're also clearly associating themselves with the sports team. Now, I would wonder, number one, I think we're in the football season right now. Again, this shows my ignorance.
I don't know.
This shows my ignorance, and all the sports fans out there are going to like us less because we're disassociated from sports.
If it helps, I like hockey and I watch the World Cup, but I don't know anything about like American football seasons. I have no idea.
I like skateboarding and skiing and figure skating, so I'm just disassociated.
I can
from team
associate
sports.
me with sports you like, but don't associate me with sports you don't like.
I do like basketball. I like playing it. I just recently started doing that again.
Yeah,
so
basketball's
that was
pretty
fun.
cool.
But I would wonder, do they have smart marketing people at Kroger who might take the Broncos logo off the receipts if the Broncos were doing horrible? I would love to see that. Like,
well, now we have to follow the football so that we can go buy King Super stuff at the same time.
This is the problem because I shop at Whole Foods. I would have to start shopping at King Supers more often, and I would also have to start following the Broncos.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot of effort, but it's,
that I don't want to do.
Anybody else in Denver, just like let us know.
There we go. Yeah. If you're in Denver.
If they lose a game,
and if the Broncos are doing bad, is that logo still on your King Supers receipt? I would love to know if that is the case or not. Anyway, because we're still using my backup camera.
Oh, yes.
We have not yet fixed the streaming camera.
Oh, technology.
I got to get up and turn off the camera and turn it back on once again. So we are going to quickly go to our ad break, and I will see you in just a few seconds. This week's episode is sponsored by Brilliant, which is a learning platform that helps you learn science, math, and computer science in a very active and efficient way. So the thing about most traditional learning, like sitting in classrooms or watching lectures online, is that it's passive to begin with. There may be challenges down the line, there may be homework, but a lot of the times when you start a class, you're just kind of sitting there passively intaking the material. And Brilliant is different because they immediately throw you into challenges that give you a reason to really want to dig in and focus intensely on what you're learning. They've got courses in things like calculus, in physics, in gravity, and things like computer science algorithms and machine learning, logic courses. And in all of these, you're given challenges to solve right away. I was taking their computer science fundamentals course, and it threw me right into figuring out insertion sort algorithms right away, figuring out the worst case, the best case, all that kind of stuff. And I remember learning about these algorithms in college, but sitting there just kind of being completely puzzled about them and not really having a reason to dig really deep right away. Whereas with this course I'm taking on Brilliant, I had a question and I failed it, and I really wanted to know why I failed it. So I had to read into their wikis and their documentation, and in way less time than I thought it would take, I had a really solid understanding of exactly how insertion sort worked. And that is exactly how all of their courses work. They also have, like I said, a really detailed wiki, so any concept that you're talking or that you're looking at on a problem or trying to figure out, you can drill into and you can learn about in detail and then come back to solve the problems. And they also have an excellent community where you can get feedback from other learners, you can ask questions, you can challenge each other. It's all about digging in, actively learning, and making that learning process a lot more efficient. So if you want to give Brilliant a try, start learning for free today and support this show, you can go over to brilliant.org/collegeinfogeek. And if you're among the first 200 people to do that, you'll also get 20% off of your annual subscription. Big thanks to Brilliant for sponsoring this episode, and let's get back into it. And we're back. And Martin has just informed me helpfully that we've only covered one of these.
Yeah. So let's get into the other four.
Yeah, but that's association. And to wrap that one up, I want to mention that people don't only associate themselves with things because they want to bolster their own self-worth, but as we can see from the King Soopers example, and as much as it makes me feel uncomfortable to admit this, like from maybe our backdrop here, we associate
we're
ourselves
nerds.
with things.
Do you like it?
LOL, look how nerdy we are, and look how relatable we are, fellow kids.
I mean, it's all true, though, so it's not...
It is true, and I still
it's not
skateboard.
Like we're fake about it.
I probably skateboard more than most people listening to this, though not in the winter, unfortunately. I need to find an indoor skate park. That's an idea.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, and I actually have seen some on Google Maps. I just haven't gone to them yet. Gonna do that. All right, enough about association. What else should we talk about here?
All right, here's a simple one: physical attractiveness, and this seems pretty obvious.
This is the uncomfortable one, right?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because one, they talk about it being an example of a halo effect, because basically, once you see that they're attractive, you assume everything else about them is good, and you are blind. They are now an angel, and you think they're smarter. You think that they're good people. You think they're more trustworthy, even if you have no reason to believe any of these things. So that's an unfortunate advantage and disadvantage for people on either side of that spectrum, wherever they feel that way.
Yeah.
But I thought it was interesting. They went out and found a bunch of stuff. The attractive people in political races, they get more votes.
People were like super adamant that it didn't influence their decision, but then when you look at the data, it definitely does.
Yeah, like people will be like, I would never think about how attractive they were when I voted, but then like that's how the statistics line up, and then they would get lighter sentences when they were being charged for crimes, which is just a terrible thing.
Yeah, that one's pretty awful.
It was like double the top fine for people that were considered the less attractive if there was a victim and a perpetrator, and the perpetrator was more attractive, he'd get a lighter fine, but if he was the less attractive one and he was hurting that nice, attractive person, double the fine. It was just, statistically, that's pretty bad.
Yeah.
That's no good. And the only exception is if you view them as a rival. Because then you're like, get out of here, attractive dude. I'm trying to look cool.
And the other thing I found is that the effect was universal across both genders. So
yeah.
So like,
it wasn't even like
you're a guy and I'm a guy and I'm a straight guy.
It didn't demand
it still works.
that you're attracted to them in that way. It just you're just
for
aware
some
that they're
reason.
attractive.
And I don't know what their standards are for physical attractiveness. Maybe it's like studies where people just rate faces.
Yeah,
or something
I believe
like
they had the people rated.
That's right. Yeah.
Separately. Otherwise, that would be like, well, I'm the observer, I'm the scientist, and I think they're attractive. That wouldn't be very fair.
I remember writing an article about the halo effect probably 4 years ago at this point, but it's still on College Info Geek, and we'll have it in the show notes. And I talked about this particular thing because in Thinking Fast and Slow, Kahneman talked about how physical attractiveness is actually part of the halo effect, and that's unfortunate, but you can say, all right, well, if I don't feel that I'm as physically attractive as somebody else, it's not fair, and I'm going to be at a disadvantage. True, I guess, to some scientific objective degree, but first and foremost, there are other factors that we can talk about here.
Yeah, and you could wear some dope clothes.
And that's the other thing. Like, whatever you view yourself as in terms of physical attractiveness, there are variables that you have control over, and not even limiting that to the way you dress and your hygiene and your physical health. Your physical attractiveness is going to also have your perception in the mind of others of your physical attractiveness is going to be changed by the way you act.
Yeah.
So if you smile, if you're positive, if you're funny, if you're engaging, you listen to people, people will rate you as more attractive than if you come off as bitter or if you come off as really shy, as kind of aloof or something like that.
Well, it's almost like if you're confident, they assume there's a good reason for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, you know what, maybe I could think about a way that makes sense to something in this book. I'm sure it does, but I don't know.
Exactly, yeah. Your attitude actually plays a big role in your attractiveness. So I think a lot of times when we look at studies like this, it becomes really easy to decide up front on a definition of what something like, say, physical attractiveness is, and then go from there, look at the results, and make a decision like, oh, that's not fair, or I guess I missed out on the boat on that one, when in fact, attractiveness itself is a variable thing that means different things to different people and has a lot of different factors that go into it. So we can say it's uncomfortable because it is from like an egalitarian
statistics aren't always nice,
point of view.
They're just numbers.
But it is, one, it's reality, and two, there's a lot of it that you do have control over.
Yeah, and it's not the only one of these factors or the only factor of the halo effect. So
yeah, exactly. We should define the halo effect, like straight up. I don't know if we did that yet.
No, okay. I did not. Actually, this is the first time that the name the halo effect ever made sense to me. When I read this, I was like, because before I was just thinking about good and bad things, but when I think specifically about good things overcrowding the rest with a halo, it makes sense.
Mm-hmm. So let's break it down just real quick.
Basically, what first impressions last?
Yeah.
What's a smarter way to say that?
First impressions. Or I guess the best way that I would put it is the halo effect is when a split-second first impression will color people's impressions of later things you do.
Yeah.
My favorite example of this is a study that was conducted a while back where they had one group of participants rating the character of, I think it was some guy named Bob, and Bob's qualities were listed in a certain order, and at the top it was like honest, honest, hardworking, truthful, but also envious and a little greedy and sometimes lazy. I can't remember the exact qualities because I just realized lazy is the opposite of hardworking. But there were 3 good ones and then 3 bad ones. And the other group of participants were asked to rate somebody else who had the exact same qualities, but they were flipped. So they saw envious and a little lazy or something like that first. And their overall impressions, when asked, were much more negative than the first group's impressions of Bob. So it's literally just ordering. So when you walk up on stage, if you walk up there confidently, if you're dressed in a suit, if your hair is nicely designed or styled, then that's going to set the impression that's going to color people's judgment of the talk you gave, for example.
Yeah. Actually, because of that ordering there, if you feel you're lacking in any good things that might help the halo effect, and you've got some bad qualities, just try to make a point to take whatever good ones you have and put them first.
So how would you do that?
I don't know, but if you don't think you're attractive, but you think you're hilarious, you start everything off with something funny. That way they don't even have a chance
There you go.
to focus on how hideous you are.
So you just show up wearing a luchador mask?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Perfect. I'm going to be like, that's it.
Nailed it.
That's cool. You're brave. I like it. I already like it.
Batman costume.
They're my
first
friend.
date. That would be interesting. Show up for a first date in a Batman costume.
I mean, it's a way to distract from your flaws. If you're just like, I think that I'll catch him off guard and it's going to be funny. I don't know if it'll work, but I like it.
I want to set up a Tinder profile where all the pictures are just me in a Batman costume.
Yeah.
Normal description, but just no normal pictures. Just all Batman costumes.
That sounds like an interesting experiment.
It would be an interesting experiment.
But yeah, there's physical attractiveness, halo effect. It's honestly one of the more easy to understand because we all kind of inherently see this happen.
Yeah, okay.
It's lame, but we see it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So another one is similarity. We also see that all the time, and it's also particularly lame. But we like people better when they seem similar to us, either the way they dress, their vernacular, the way they speak, their dialect and accent, their appearance, where they're from. That's a big one. You're from the same hometown as me. You're pretty awesome. That doesn't. You know who else is? Like thousands of people.
Yep. And they're all kind of the same.
It doesn't really matter that much, but it seems like it does.
But just because you're from the same geographical area doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be better friends.
Yeah. And then like interests and hobbies and all those things. So therefore, if you like these nerdy things and you associate us with them, you're associating us with something you find similar to you, which is doubly good.
Yeah, and I do want to point out, like, I built my set with stuff I like. So
yeah,
but I honestly think
we should build one that's specifically like how manipulative can we make the backdrop and just put like statistically try to put as much popular stuff back here as we can.
We got Google Trends open.
Yeah,
what's trendy right now?
It's just like fidget spinners and minions.
I think that's ended. I think if we had fidget spinners and minions in the background, either this podcast would go down in flames hard, or
I would think it was funny.
We would attract a really sarcastic audience that would love it.
I would like it.
Which would be really funny. I don't even know what's trendy right now.
I don't know.
Like,
hopefully this podcast.
So if I were to log into YouTube not logged in, I would see trends. But I never do that. So my YouTube homepage is nothing but cooking videos right now. That's it. And I don't think cooking is trendy. It's just my interest right now. So
yeah, I don't know.
I have forgotten what's trendy. But I like Scott Pilgrim, and I like One Piece, and I like Zelda, and I like Nerf guns. So
there you go.
That's what's on my backdrop. But yeah, it is true that people who have similar interests are probably going to gravitate to this kind of a podcast more than they will if I had a backdrop full of, I don't know, whiskey bottles or something.
Yeah, it's hard for me to even think of anything on the spot. Message. I just have no idea.
Yeah. Or I don't know, old guitar pedals or like Jimi Hendrix posters or something.
Yeah, the vibe
now I'm
would
thinking
be
of like
completely different.
We could do actually, I don't even want to say this as a joke because I know that cynical publishers trying to make a show for students would do this.
Oh no.
If I was like 40 and super cynical and was trying to be relatable to the kids and I was making a college show,
up, Philip, kid?
I would have your ubiquitous Bob Marley poster in the background. I would have your John Belushi with the college sweater in the background, which is kind of hilarious because like Animal House is old. Like
I've never seen it.
I've never seen it. And I highly doubt that most people younger than us have actually seen Animal House. Yet for some reason, John Belushi with that stupid sweater is still on sale at every college poster sale I've ever seen. And I don't get it because the Blues Brothers is a better movie. If you want a John Belushi movie, that's the one you should be watching.
I've only partially seen that.
I mean, it's not like Animal House is a bad movie, but come on. The Blues Brothers it's the best.
Something like that.
Something like that. But I have always thought, and I've talked about this on various business podcasts I've been on, that I do think that part of the reason that my channel initially succeeded is that I wasn't just on a white background or a gray background or whatever talking about study tips in a very clinical fashion.
Yeah.
I built a set that had a bunch of my nerdy interests kind of strewn about, and then in my writing even, I would make analogies to video games or analogies and references to movies I like, and I think that that kind of exploits the similarity principle. And it's not necessarily that we're doing it like on purpose, but
yeah, I think
because we're interested in those things, we're going to attract the people who are interested in those things.
I think
they're going to be more receptive to the message.
If it came off disingenuous too much.
Yeah.
You know, like if I was reading through a textbook and it had stupid meme faces in there when it was talking about something, I'd be like, yeah, I see what you're doing, and it's terrible. Just don't even do this to me. You can go too far if it's too blatantly obvious you're just trying to be cool.
I almost wonder if similarity is the one principle here that is most likely to turn people off if it's
like
fake.
Yeah, like backfire if you go too far.
Because like I think people will catch if you compliment them fakely, but they may still enjoy it.
Oh yeah, it even says that.
Like you know, that car salesman
still works.
I like you. Yeah, you like my money, but I'm still kind of impressed that you sent me a card every single month for 12 months. But if someone was like, hey, Tom, I also love skateboarding and I love guitar, and guess what? I love every one of the recent things you tweeted about. Or it's like in Scott Pilgrim, I don't do drugs. Unless, of course, you do drugs, in which case I do every single one of them all the time.
Yeah.
Like, that turns people off pretty quick. So that may be the case where, like, trying to exploit that is a very fine line.
Like, it'll seem lame faster.
Yeah. You're not going to seem genuine.
Yeah.
All right, so we had, similarity, association,
we got compliments. That's actually a really quick one. People like it when you compliment them. And in fact, it was talking about how even if it's a blatantly untrue compliment, people will still believe it more than likely if it's a compliment. Whereas if you say something fake and it's not true or true, it's more honest. But when it's a compliment, they just go, oh, yeah, I am pretty smart about that, aren't I?
Yeah.
And then they like you anyway, even if it's very blatant that you're lying.
By the way, I really like your opera voice.
Oh, thank you.
I like it a lot.
I do got one, but I'm not going to do it on this mic. It's gonna
peak.
Everybody's going to hate me if I do that. Just imagine that I do have one.
If we did captions for this show, I would just have opera singing.
Yeah.
Just written down at the bottom. Like you're clearly not even singing. You're just sitting there calmly. But it's just loud opera
I don't
singing
have to
with lots
try.
of vibrato.
I can just sort of look like I'm talking, and then the opera voice comes out.
It's true. Yeah, you have that innate ability to look like you're casually talking, but actually be eclipsing Pavarotti in your grandioseness of your opera singing voice. And that I like about you. I like it a lot. It's great.
Good.
By the way, I'm going to have to cut your pay. Are you okay with
that? Yeah, you like me, so I trust that deal.
Exactly.
It's a good idea.
We were talking about that in the car yesterday too, weren't we? Like, oh, I got to cut your pay, but don't worry because our company now has free kombucha, and we're going to go to the zoo once a month.
Yeah, joke's on you. I'm going to drink so much kombucha that it actually loses you money.
It's like $2,000.
I'm going to make myself sick every day drinking kombucha just to make you lose money off of that deal.
The cheapest kombucha at Whole Foods
it's gonna be
that
a
I've
lot.
seen is like, I think it's $3.50
I'm gonna have to drink a lot of
for 12 ounces.
You probably get a good deal when you get it on tap too.
So you probably do get a good deal when you get it on a tap.
Yeah.
So in order to
Drinks
not give you a good deal, I'm going to buy it bottled. More environmental waste, but it's all in the name of exploitation.
Okay, fair. So yeah, there's the compliments, which is just it's pretty obvious.
Ooh, before we move on from that, I do want to mention
you got a
something.
good example?
Not example. I just want to mention that again. I have to reiterate this every single time we do an episode on weapons of influence. These are not inherently bad. You want people to like you. Like, there's nothing wrong with that.
I'm a loner.
I mean, if I'm selling something that is obviously a scam and then I'm trying to make you like me to sell that, okay, now I'm an exploitative bad person. But everyone wants to make friends. Everyone wants to have a successful business or do well in their job. And clearly, being liked is an integral part of that.
Yeah.
So I suppose that you shouldn't just take away from this episode that you should be on your guard and, not like people when you think they're trying to get something from you. In fact, the end of the chapter literally said, don't try to pick out things people are trying to do to make you like them at first.
Yeah.
Just like them. And then when they pitch you or they want a favor from you, then ask yourself, would I do this if I didn't really like this person?
Yeah, like that's the secret. It isn't just to be like, oh, you're naturally likable. Well, I hate you.
Exactly. Yeah.
You're just trying to trick me. And if you were trying, if you were trying to like date around and find a good relationship, you're not going to do too well for yourself if you're constantly like, oh, did you just compliment me? Do you like me?
Yeah.
You're a fake. And then you only date people that hate you? That's not going to work out.
Yeah. I definitely pulled out all the stops to make Anna like me before we started dating.
Yeah. So if she was like, you're psychologically manipulating me.
Exactly.
It would just not be the right. You just got to, would I still do this?
Mm-hmm. And it doesn't mean that I was being a fake person, but I'm going to go and give compliments and I'm going to do a lot of things to try to build that relationship. I think that's what everyone does. And that brings me to my point that I want to make. Don't just take away from this episode that people can manipulate you with liking. Take away from this episode that maybe you could do some things that you're not doing right now that would make people like you more. Like that Joe Girard guy sending cards every month. You don't got to send a greeting card every month to make people like you, but when's the last time you called your friend that you haven't talked to in a few months who doesn't live around you? Maybe you should just text them out of the blue. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, I like
you love
that.
Texting nonsense to our friends that don't live in Denver.
Oh,
and that just kind of keeps that relationship alive.
Yeah, that's, when I just think of them, I just text them nonsense. Even if it's just their name, even if it's a remixed version of that Dreidel song.
Nothing wrong with that.
Where I then tell them that I pray to them, and it's a weird text, and they're like, okay, hello.
And that's not necessarily a compliment, but you're at least giving them attention.
I'm telling them the compliment is that I thought of them, even though I am like a billion miles away.
Yes.
And also that I'm still weird, but that's what they want.
Exactly. So even if it's something as small as making sure to call people on their birthday, how many people actually do that?
Yeah.
Maybe you could do that. You know what I don't like is that light. It's always going off.
That light is always going off.
I did order a new one, but apparently it's a really popular light and it's on back order. So we're not going to get it until early to mid-February.
Okay. So this last section is, honestly, I thought this section was really interesting. Mm-hmm. Was the contact and cooperation. Contact also familiarity. Mm-hmm. Not like I contact you all the time, but we're in contact frequently enough that you're familiar and comfortable around me.
Yeah.
So I thought this section was really interesting. And one example it gave that is for the familiarity thing is if you take a picture of yourself and then you reverse it, you flip it over like a mirror, and then you decide which picture do you like better, and then you ask your friends which ones do they like better, you'll probably pick different ones because you see yourself in the mirror, but they see you the other way. So you like the one you see often better.
That one got to me.
That's a really weird, oh, you're right. My hair is totally backwards to what I prefer it as all the time.
Yep. That one really got to me because in making my thumbnails for YouTube, sometimes I will decide that, I think the text would be better on this side of me than this side. But that would, sometimes it requires flipping myself around, and I'll try it, and I will never accept it because it looks really weird to me.
Yeah.
But then I read that, and I thought, maybe people wouldn't actually care. I bet you everyone besides me would think it looks normal, or they wouldn't even notice it. But because
if you
it's
put it in a
different
certain
from what I'm
direction,
used to.
especially your hair.
Yeah, and I was kind of confused about that because I think the camera films us the way that other people see us, doesn't it? Unless it flips it. I don't know.
I don't see why it would flip it. Well, now you got me all confused. I'm questioning it.
I am also questioning it. Also, I know that when I look at it on the screen there, I'm pretty sure that it's actually backwards to what we see on YouTube. Because on YouTube, I'm always on the left. But in looking at the screen right there, you're on the left. I feel like
this question should be easy, but now that so many things have been presented, I have no idea how to figure it out.
It's one of those confusing things.
So I give up. Something's backwards. Maybe you're backwards in real life. I don't know.
Maybe I am backwards. This is my right hand the whole time.
Yeah.
My life is a lie.
Problem solved.
I really liked the concept of jigsaw learning.
That was a pretty cool solution to the terrible environment that is competitive school.
Mm-hmm. So to summarize this part of the book, they started talking about desegregation efforts.
Yeah.
Where they would bring multiple ethnicities into contact with each other, and what they found is people aren't getting along.
Yeah, they thought it would be like you're familiar now, and that's all you need.
So the whole theory in the beginning was a simple, if you're in contact with somebody more often, you will come to like them. But what turns out is that if you're in contact with somebody in a normal school setting, you end up not liking them as much because at first people naturally still form into their ethnic cliques.
Which they definitely do.
You have a competitive classroom environment where the people who are smarter are going to have their hands up and they want to get the teacher's approval the whole time. And the people who don't know the answers are trying to avert their gaze. But in either case, there's never any teamwork. There's never any shared experience there.
Yeah.
It's all about like, I want the teacher's approval or I don't want the teacher's disapproval. So that just created a lot of animosity. And they had a great example where they had these boys in a camp over the summer and they separated them into teams.
Yeah.
And literally just by separating them into teams and giving those teams names just started causing animosity.
They suddenly hated each other.
Yeah, they hated each other, started pulling pranks on each other, like mean pranks, all kinds of stuff.
We got that tribal instinct.
Yeah.
You know, it's not that helpful in modern times. We should stop that, but it's still there.
So then they decide to introduce some challenges where everyone has to band together. So like the one truck that could go into town for food is stuck in mud. It's discovered, quote unquote, to be stuck.
Oh, whoops.
And all the boys from both teams have to get together and help push that truck out of the mud. And I don't remember what all the other things were, but they came up with all these different scenarios where everyone had to communicate.
I think the
and work
water
together.
was disconnected.
Yeah, the water was disconnected. So they all had to get together and help fix that. And by the end of the experiment, the boys were like basically all great friends. They would ask individuals, hey, which one of the boys in this camp is your best friend? And at first, it would always be somebody in their team. But at the end, a lot of them were starting to say, well, actually, that kid over in the other team is one of my best friends. So it's all about having to cooperate on shared problems.
Yeah.
So the concept of jigsaw learning, which I found really fascinating, is they would set up scenarios in the classroom where everyone would be in a group, and then everyone had the responsibility to basically solve one piece of the puzzle or do one piece of research. And then in order to get a good grade, you had to basically bring all of your research together and create a presentation or get all the answers. And the other person on your team, what they knew is something that you needed to know. And in doing that, they ended up having a lot better cooperation. There was a lot less teasing. A lot of the kids who felt like they couldn't contribute, or maybe kids who had English as a second language and couldn't express their thoughts very well, before they'd be teased. And now that the kids knew that their grades actually hinged on that kid being able to say what he needed to say, now they're actually having, more patience, and they're acting like interviewers, and they're being a lot more cooperative.
Yeah, one of the examples, the experimenter was like, hey, yeah, you could pick on him if you want. Maybe that's funny, but the test is in an hour.
Yep.
So, and they were just like, well, listen now.
Yep.
It's like you got to have a common goal.
Have fun picking on them, but you're going to fail. So, and, that's kind of why I guess people band together during wars. Right now we're not in like a world war. So there's a lot of division in the country, and there was certainly a lot less of it when the whole country was at war. And that's not to say that like war is a great
common
thing.
It's like
it's a common enemy.
Common enemy, common goal, something you got to cooperate for. This section, actually, if there are any teachers in the audience, honestly, I thought this was really interesting and maybe worth thinking about if you're setting up a classroom environment where you want to have people interact better.
Yeah, I thought this was probably one of the most useful for teachers. I thought
that was cool.
Because learning about the jigsaw learning thing, I don't remember doing a ton of that in school. Like a lot of times I had the option to just go off on my own and figure it all out.
Yeah.
And maybe, that worked well for me, but maybe that didn't work well for some other people in the class.
Well, maybe it worked well for you, but you also probably missed some social opportunities that you would, like, I did the same thing. I was like, I'll just do this myself or with the people I know. And what does that mean? It means that, one, I insulate myself within a bubble of my friends and people who agree with me on things. Mm-hmm. And I don't meet people. And that costs me, even if I get good grades still.
Yeah, exactly. And reading about that part just made me think of Twitter. Like, anytime, or just the internet in general, like we seem to just get into the bubbles of people who share the exact same opinions. And then the only time you ever see somebody with a different opinion, it's in some competitive setting. Even on Twitter, like Twitter ends up being competitive, like snarky quip wars.
Well,
eventually.
Yeah. Everything becomes like that. Politics, sports, everything becomes, this is who I am, this is my identity, and if you offend it, I hate you. Mm-hmm. But if there was ever a cooperative setting, you'd probably get along better. I don't know how to make that for social media.
I don't know how to make it either. And it's like the one, or maybe not the one, but one of the big flaws I see in the internet is it enables people to connect across vast, disparate geographic conditions, to connect with people who think the way they do, which is great on one hand, but it's a double-edged sword because now there's a lot less of a need for you to talk and communicate with people in your community who are going to be different than you.
Yeah.
So unless you really go out there and make an effort to participate in things with people who are just living around you, they don't necessarily have the exact same interests or political beliefs, then you never have to participate in any shared goals with those kind of people. So again, the only times you ever get to interact with them are when it's competitive in some way. And it just furthers the divide.
Yeah, and you don't even have to have any reasonable... Like, you could think something that's completely absurd. The Earth is a pyramid. It's not flat, it's not round, it's a pyramid. But you'll find somebody on the internet that probably believes that or will go with it. So no matter what your beliefs are, you will find somebody who says, yeah, you're right. And that's not helpful for learning or growth in the slightest.
Yeah, exactly. Got to do the camera one more time.
Oh, no.
Okay, and we're back. Though I don't know if there's much more we need to cover.
This is like wrap up, basically. That's basically it. The cooperation and familiarity is you like people who are on your side when you're doing something.
Right.
And you like people that are familiar with you. If you can combine them, you'll become familiar with everyone, and everybody can be your friends, and we'll all have the best party of all time.
Yay.
Yay.
It's all going to work out, maybe.
It's something like that.
Okay, so to wrap up here, I guess the two lessons to take away. First, what Cialdini talks about in the book is you don't necessarily need to try to avoid liking people because, again, it's going to be destructive.
Cynicism has its limits to
really
how useful it is.
But when it comes time that they're asking you for something, ask yourself, would I buy this or would I do this favor in independent circumstances? Or am I doing it just because I like this person?
Yeah, and how long have I known them? Do I like them an unreasonable amount for how long I've known them? If they're your lifelong friend, you're like, well, of course I like them. But if you met them 20 minutes ago and you're like, they're the greatest person ever, maybe you should think about whether this is realistic.
Are they actually from my hometown? Yeah. I don't know. Who'd you date in high school?
I'm going to need to see all your former addresses.
Yep. I need to see your family photo album. I need to see it all. But the other thing is, think about what you could be doing to make people like you more. Not in an exploitative way, but just in a, am I being lazy kind of way?
Yeah.
Call people on their birthdays. Compliment people when you notice something they're doing that's cool. And these things take effort. So I think a lot of times we don't do them just because we're very habitual. We go about our days and we don't think to expend effort on these things. But they make a difference. And I don't know, maybe sometime somebody will buy a car from you.
Maybe.
If that's what you want.
I'm going to be selling cars.
All the cars. Yeah, right when this business inevitably crashes and burns because everyone realizes that behind the Castlevania poster, it actually is just a bunch of fidget spinners and minions. We got to go sell cars. It's the only option. Only way out.
Good thing I know so much about them. Considering I don't even have one.
Well, look, most of them have 4 wheels. Count them. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? And there's rubber on those wheels.
Whoa.
Yep. Now, if you got a car with no rubber on the wheels, it's a bad one.
Hot Wheels are great.
Well, they are great, but you can't ride in it. Yep.
Yeah, I can.
Unless you were like this tall. It's a Froggy Fresh lyric.
You just attach them to your shoes like rollerblades.
We should do that. We shouldn't do that.
That's going to end badly.
Although, remember when Tech Deck came out with the handboards?
Yeah. Yep.
Definitely bought 2 of them.
That's what you do with those.
And stood on them, and it worked, kind of. It worked in the school hallways where it was like linoleum tile, but then when we took it out on the blacktop, it just broke it. Yeah, it turns out
sounds about
rough
right.
Blacktop, not good for really cheap, like nickel
holding
trucks.
Human weight. Yeah,
holding human weight. Anyway, guys, this is episode 195. So if you're watching on YouTube, as always, down in the description below, you will find that show notes link if you want to check those out. And if you are listening to this episode, then cigpodcast.com/195 is that URL you should go to. Or if you're in your podcast app, you can just tap our faces or swipe or whatever your app has you do to bring the show notes right up in your app. And we will have links to the book, Influence, The Psychology of Persuasion. We'll have links to the previous episodes in the Weapons of Influence series. And if there's anything else that we forgot to mention or that we need to link to, we will have that stuff linked up. So thanks as always for listening, and we will see you in next week's episode. Stick you.